Hello, my friends. Jacob is here again, and I'm so happy that you're with me. Thank you for pressing play and for checking this video out. Thank you for subscribing if you haven't. If you haven't, please do. I love it when you do that. And I thank you for your comments, and I try to get back to everybody. You know I will. If I don't, it's not because I don't like you. I love every single one of you. It's just because I haven't seen your comment yet, and I'll get to it. So, today's show, right? The title kind of gives it away. What does President Donald Trump, we're going to give the man the respect that he deserves, even though a lot of people in the country are not. He is our commander-in-chief. He is the president of the United States, these great states of the Americas. So it's time that we all think the best for this man because he's our leader right now. So what does President Donald Trump, the Mandela Effect, and a crazy, huge Goliath asteroid that's going to be, skimming really close past us in February have in common? What does it have in common? I don't know. Well, maybe you'll find out. So buckle up because that's what we're talking about today. So let's get right into the Mandela Effect. Now, that's the thing that I really wanted to talk about right off the bat because it is just a fun topic. So many things are not what we remember them to be. I'm talking like historically they've changed. If you don't know what the Mandela Effect is, I feel like I have to say this every time for those that are new. I have a playlist of them. Watch them all. Get caught up. It started with a person who, basically thought that Mandela had already died. Turns out a lot of people thought that. A lot of people went on record saying it too. Well, he didn't die in prison. So that's kind of where we get the name from. Turns out there's a lot of things that we thought we knew that, we don't really know so well. So today I'm going to talk about some new ones. Probably some you haven't heard of. Most of you haven't heard of. Those die-hard Mandela Effect seekers, maybe you've heard one or two, but I know I got one that you haven't yet. First one is this really cool game that my children love to play. It was called Headband. And it's just a really cool game, right? And we played it, for like years. We had that box in the middle of the table all the time, playing Headbands. Turns out, it's not spelled the way it used to be. Take a look. Now, I went to each and every one of my children. I asked Noah, Shiloh, Anthony, and Ethan, even though Ethan hasn't played the game yet. But I asked all three of them, do you remember it spelled that way? And every single one of them was kind of blown away because that's not the headbands that I know of. Who even names a game Headbands? It doesn't make a lot of sense when you look at the spelling of it, especially when it's like the game that we play in the house. But, we're moving on to other things, right? Okay, let's talk about the Publishers Clearinghouse. That's one that's now making the rounds. Listen, Ed Mcmahon worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. He came to the door with the balloons and with the big check, and he went, hey, surprise! And turns out he never worked for him now. What's going on? How is it possible that Ed Mcmahon and Publishers Clearinghouse have never crossed paths before? Not even a little bit. And I'm not the only one that thinks that Ed McMahon worked for, Publishers Clearinghouse. I'm not the only one that was waiting for, Big Salty to come to the house and give me my check. Turns out the White House did too. Now, if you have rugs in the house, and you have 4 crazy, awesome, amazing children who like to spill things on the rugs, you've probably heard of Stanley Steamer. Well, I've had them to the house a couple of times. I think I would have recognized them spelling steamer the wrong way. Now it's spelled this way. I'm telling you, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense. I'm not using them anymore. Mandela steam cleaning weirdos. All right. You ever eat a Macintosh apple? Are you an apple fanatic like I am? You ever eat a Macintosh apple? You like those juicy Macintosh apples? Well, guess what? They're not called Macintosh apples anymore. They're called Mcintosh. That's right, Mcintosh apples. Hey man, I want to talk about one of my favorite artists, man. I try these accents and they always backfire. Bob Marley, Three Little Birds. Okay, so there is a Mandela effect in there. People have talked about it, but I'm going to talk about one that people haven't talked about because turns out I like to sing karaoke. I like to sing. And Three Little Birds is like kind of one of my favorite Bob Marley tunes. One of the ones that I jam and I rock out on the karaoke stage. And I remember it going, woke up this morning, smile at the rising sun. Turns out, he never woke up this morning. He rise up this morning. Take a look. 'Cause everything gonna be alright. Rise up this morning, rise up this morning, rise up this morning, smile with the rising sun. Three little birds. Yeah. That's not the only song. There are a lot of other songs. Smooth Criminal, Michael Jackson, big deal. It was a great video back in the day. That was my high school days. I love that video. Very cool video. It turns out the song is different than I remember. This I'm sure other people have covered, and I wanted to talk about it. I usually don't cover things if other people have done it. I try to get something out there that's fresh and new, but hey, it's Michael, and a lot of people are big fans of him. So a song like this, people would remember the lyrics to, and it didn't say you've been hit by a smooth criminal. It said you've been struck by a smooth criminal. Turns out it didn't go that way. It didn't go that way at all. Take a look. Yeah, Tinkerbell, right? Walt Disney. When I was a child growing up, Tinkerbell, every time I watched Disney, start the little show, come over, go, and like hit the top of the thing with the magic wand and all the little fireworks would explode, right? And Tinkerbell would come to the scene and she'd smile and then fly off. That never happened. And I researched this. I don't even know where anybody could have saw it because it doesn't exist. Now, you know what really burns my biscuit? I actually posted one night. It was very late. My wife and I were up because our boys, they had a big sleepover, and there were like 10 teenagers in the house, and they were making a ton of noise, and we went downstairs. And they were talking about the Mandela Effect, and out of the blue, I was looking at my phone, and someone said, hey, the movie Bad Neighbors has changed. Now, I just happened to have a copy of the DVD that I just personally bought 3 weeks ago. Well, from the night that I videotaped this. My wife and I, we watched this. We couldn't believe that Bad Neighbors 2 was actually called Neighbors 2 in the States. So we ran upstairs, we got out the DVD. Turns out we were a little blown away. This was Bad Neighbors. It was in my house. It's not online. It's in my possession. It's always been in my possession. This is like firsthand proof. I bought this just a little while ago, okay? Everybody in my house can attest to it that it was Bad Neighbors 2. The DVD just didn't look right to me. The cover didn't look right to me. And the irony is, it's Bad Neighbors pretty much everywhere else in the world but the States. And it's a marketing nightmare. Why would you give it two different names? It just doesn't make any sense. It would be so much easier to print posters and not have to, look, bottom line is, I remember it being called Bad Neighbors and Bad Neighbors 2, and it's not called that anymore. It's called Neighbors. And you may ask me, Jacob, is this Mandela Effect? Is it just your memory? Now look, if you watch some of my videos, I will admit that some of the things that I touch on are probably just false memories, But there are other things, like the Coca-Cola logo, that I know for sure are not false memories. There are other things, like the fact that Jesus never said pick up your couch and take it home. There are other things that I know for a fact we're not that way. So, just because a couple of things that we share may, you actually may remember them, and we may be our memories may be a little off because we're not perfect. You can't really trust your memory. But after you have hundreds of these false memories, or I should say, you have hundreds of these memories that turn out to be false, there's something to it. And there's something to knowing that you know that you know. There are a lot of them that like there are people that say, that Vaseline, it's not spelled the way it's supposed to be spelled. Now, I myself, I don't remember how Vaseline is spelled. It could be confused with gasoline. But, if I had said that's a Mandela effect, you might say, oh, well, everything else that you said earlier doesn't matter anymore because you made a mistake. I'm asking you not to do that. I'm asking you to dig, to look into this stuff and to ask yourself really what's going on, because it's kind of cool. Because if stuff like this is happening, there is more to this world than we've been told. And if we're waking up to it and we're opening our eyes to it and we're starting to see the bigger picture, it's like a new day is here. A new world is here. And I'm going to rejoice in it. I don't know about you. So now look, I want to move on to President Trump, because, look, protests everywhere have been breaking out. I mean, we're talking everywhere. Now, it would be one thing if these protests were organic, but they are funded by, the Illuminati mobster himself, George Soros. I mean, the man is connected to, good grief, I mean, it's like 65% of the people that are organizing these marches. Yeah, so while these protests are going on, we find out that this is all this billionaire is doing. This guy who helped. I don't even want to get into this guy. This guy has had just a really despicable life, and he's done some really horrible things. He's connected to 56 of the march partners, including key partners like Planned Parenthood, the National Resource Defensive Council, all of these organizations. They're all, opposing Trump's policies, and he's doing this not because he cares about the little people that are, he thinks of them as little people. I know that we are all the same, but he doesn't care about these peons that he's, sending off to go get arrested. These people that he is sending off to, create trouble. He doesn't care about them. What he wants is division, because a divided house can't stand. Other Soros ties to the Women's March organization include the partisan MoveOn.org. They were the ones that called for all the quick, they sent out all the tweets and all the blasts about everybody take to the streets when, President Trump was finally elected. The National Action Network. And let me think of who else here. Let's see, the American Civil Liberties Union, the Center for Constitutional Rights, Amnesty International, and Human Rights Watch. March organizers and the organizations identified here, they've not really said, yeah, we're connected to Soros. Yeah, he gives us a lot of money, and he may kind of give us our marching orders too. They're not saying it, but they're not saying it's not true either. I will say that a spokeswoman for Soros's Open Society Foundation said in a statement, there have been many false reports about George Soros and the Open Society Foundation's funding protests in the wake of the U.S. presidential elections. There is no truth to these reports, she said. Then she goes on to say, we support a wide range of equal rights, many of whom are concerned about what policy changes may lay ahead. We are proud of their work. We, of course, support the right of all Americans to peacefully assemble and petition their government. And we may write them a lot of checks so they can do so too, because we have an agenda. It's not really about the people, it's about world domination. It's always been that way. Now, I gotta tell you something. I have a problem trusting anyone in power, because I don't believe that the sinister powers that be that are behind the scenes are gonna allow anyone like we say JFK. We say, because he seemed like a man who didn't want secret societies. He seemed like a man who actually cared, even though his family was connected to all of that nonsense. He seemed like he wanted to make a difference. And I got to tell you something. I'm suspect of anybody in power. I'm still suspect of President Trump. But I got to tell you something. He's putting his pen to where his mouth was. Okay? He said he was going to do things, and he's doing them. In office already, he has just been nonstop blasting out executive orders. Taking on Obamacare. And the latest one was TPP. Which, let me tell you something about TPP, this Trans-Pacific Partnership, which was absolutely horrible. If I can find it. My goodness gracious, man. This thing is like worse than NAFTA. I mean, Global Trade Watch's assessment of NAFTA, for example, the 20-year legacy of NAFTA, demonstrates just how horrible it was for hardworking Americans. An estimated 1 million jobs were lost because of NAFTA. And it put downward pressure on wages. You ever wonder why everything's going up while you and I aren't making any more money? Maybe we make an extra quarter here and there, but really, the bread's up, right? The milk's up, the eggs are up, everything's up, the gas is up, but our wages are staying the same. For many people, including myself, they may be going on a downward spiral. Now, why is that? Because the powers that be, those that are wealthy, they don't care. So don't tell me that George Soros cares. But let me tell you something. The fact that President Trump, the commander-in-chief, has said no more, giving the kibosh to TPP, tells me maybe, just maybe there's a glimmer of hope. Maybe. I say maybe, and I say it cautiously, with cautious enthusiasm, because I say I see change coming. I've said I see change coming a lot, and I do think that things are gonna get a little stricter and a little tighter and a little more claustrophobic. But I'll tell you what, I hope that a lot of people are wrong about President Trump. I hope that the man cares, because him putting that pen to that executive order, it just helped out a lot of people. Because I don't know if you know about TPP. It's a big deal, man. This open trade, this world trade, well, you know what it does? It basically allows corporations to pit American workers and their wage against the wages of people that are in Vietnam or in China or in countries that, their wages are like 53 to 60 cents an hour. Only the corporations make out with TPP. People like you and I, we don't. You know what NAFTA did? We had what was the debt we were in? We were just in $26 billion of debt in the hole with Canada. As of 2014, we had a combined trade deficit of both countries, $177 billion. TPP repeats many of NAFTA's mistakes, as well as those of other bilateral trade treaties, like the permanent normal trade relations with China, which cost 2.7 million U.S. jobs, and the Korea Free Trade Agreement, which failed to deliver the 70,000 jobs that it said it would offer. The Economic Policy Institute estimates that under TPP, right? This is why I'm glad that President Trump kiboshed it. We stand to lose 130,000 jobs in Vietnam and Japanese to Vietnam and Japan alone, with American workers having to compete for that minimum wage of 56 cents an hour. Good for you, President Trump. Keep those executive orders coming. I want to believe in you, man. And I want to believe that America is going to become a better place. I'm tired of all the protests. I'm tired of all the division. I think it's time for us all to come together. And I want us to come together. You know why? Because at any point in time, anything could happen. Our life here is like a vapor, okay? It's short, it's brief. So we got to make the most of it. Because really, this is an exciting adventure. And every single one of us is on it together. That's why we need to improve our relationships with others. That's why we need to move in forgiveness, and we need to move on in love, in cooperation, in celebration. It's time for us all to celebrate each other, to celebrate your spouse, and to celebrate your friends, and to celebrate your boss, and to celebrate your children, and to celebrate your neighbors. It's time to lift people up. So I think maybe we should lift President Trump up. Because I really hope that that scary gut feeling that a lot of people have about those in power, that I have myself, I hope that we're wrong about it. I do hope we're wrong about it indeed. Needless to say, in February, I'm going to touch on this really quick. There's an asteroid coming at us. That's right. Don't worry. It's not going to hit us. It's going to kind of come pass between the moon and Earth, which is pretty close. Big close shave. But what's cool about this is why I wanted to talk about it. They don't know. NASA doesn't understand. They're like, what is it? Is it a comet? Is it an asteroid? They don't know. There's a Russian astronomer who is supposed to be a Nibiru whistleblower who says that it's part of something, of the Nibiru system, that it sloughed off. I really couldn't find substantiated claims that were legit, but it still is cool, right? We got this asteroid comet coming past us in February. So don't be worried about it. Don't be scared about it. Be excited about it, because all of this stuff does tie together. What does it all have in common? You and me. Thanks for taking the time for watching the show. I love you all, and I hope that you do subscribe, and I hope that you all have the best day ever. Give somebody a hug today. I'll start by giving you one, and I'm going to blow you all a kiss, and I'm going to say goodbye. Bye-bye.